You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Edna Bell, your host of Community Bell. We are so happy to have you with us this afternoon. Again, it's 4 o'clock on Monday, so it must be the Community Bell Show. And isn't it a wonderful day? Before last, it was snowing up a storm. Last Monday, it was okay. And now we've got a sunny Monday afternoon, the Monday before Thanksgiving. What a blessing that is. We are so glad to have you with us this afternoon. We've got some information and some people here today you're going to want to listen to. They've got some good information for all of us. You need to hear their stories, and you need to know what's going on in a lot of situations. With us is Dwight Harris, who is a part of the Innocence Project. Dwight, introduce yourself.
My name is Dwight Harris.
Okay, and
I am,
not just Dwight Harris, come on.
I'm the CEO of Icon 10, one of the creators of Innocent Maintain, founder, and also created the Innocent Integrity Bureau, who we have one of the guys here that's running that's a part of the Innocent Project.
And with you is?
And with me is Daryl Seegers, who's an exoneree.
Mr. Seegers, welcome. We're glad to have you and Dwight with us. Introduce yourself, Mr. Seegers.
Good to be here. My name is Daryl Seegers. I am the CEO of a company I created called Access Plus.
Okay, and what does Access Plus do?
Access Plus, we provide documents, prosecutors' files, police files, court files to individuals who are inside. I don't know if you want to get too so far into my story right now, but
well, we'll get there.
Okay,
but that's what Access Plus does.
Yes,
okay.
It does.
Okay. Dwight, how did you get to Mr. Seegers?
Mr. Seegers, I met years ago in prison.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago I went to prison for 25 years for something I did.
Okay.
And I took responsibility for that. And so meeting him, Mr. Seegers came home, I want to say probably less than a year ago.
Yes.
And since he's been home, we've been engaging in innocent projects around the city as well as some of the things around the country, addressing wrongful convictions as they are, and everybody know that it's a tragedy.
Absolutely.
Wrongful conviction.
Mr. Seegers, Dwight just said he went to jail for 25 years for something he did. How about you?
Well, I went to prison for 34 years for something I didn't do.
Okay, that's the story we want to hear.
And I was recently, as he said, I was recently exonerated through the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit and recently released. And like I said, we've been going around the communities doing things, reaching back, trying to help, trying to educate some of the public. And I've been to every major university in the state of Michigan, giving speeches about wrongful convictions and just doing everything we can to help the community and educate people about some of the harms regarding wrongful convictions.
That's just incredible. Tell us your story.
In 1984, I was 20 years old. I went to a gathering with my son and daughter's mother. There were some gentlemen there. A fight broke out. Several of the guys left. One of them ended up getting killed. He was shot down the street while I was still in the home. Police wanted to talk to me about it. I refused to talk to them, and that was my first mistake. Once I refused to talk to them, they focused the investigation on me. I was subsequently arrested, taken to jail, given a state lawyer, and convicted. Sent to prison with a natural life sentence, where I spent 34 years. While inside, I got my GED, associate degree, studied to get my bachelor's degree, and began to study the law. Ate the law, breathed the law, lived in the law library, because I knew therein was my answer to getting out of prison.
Wow. That's just, and you were 20 when this happened?
20 years old, yes.
Wow. Quite, and you were innocent. Did they ever
Yes.
find out who the guilty party was?
Yes.
Was that before you were let out, or was that after you were let out?
Well, they had always had an idea and a name of the individual, but they wasn't able to verify it until I got close to getting out through the investigation by the Conviction Integrity Unit, and they subsequently found out who the real perpetrator was. But my conviction rested mostly on false evidence. And from the Detroit Police Department, one of their so-called lab techs, who was a firearm examiner, we found out subsequently that he was not qualified, and he gave testimony that just was patently incredible and false.
Now, your state-appointed attorney, do you think he was qualified to do justice for you?
He was qualified, but he just didn't have the tools and the resource. He was underpaid, overworked, like a lot of court-appointed attorneys. They have 20, 30 cases at a time trying to represent guys, and he didn't have the resource. He didn't have the time to properly investigate, and that's common even today, that a lot of defendants who are going through the system with these court-appointed lawyers, they just don't have the resource, they don't have the funding, and so they end up getting substandard assistance or representation from these lawyers, and they end up convicted and ran through the system.
Well, now tell us how you got out. How did they get to your case, and what facts did they find to make sure you were exonerated?
Well, in 2013, they brought computers into the prison system, and I began to study about the science of ballistic identification. I had learned that the Detroit Crime Lab had been closed down by the Michigan State Police in 2008 for submitting false ballistic reports and other improprieties that caused it to be closed. And that somewhat made me start looking into the ballistic evidence in my case. We started, and my lawyers and some of the investigators went and talked to these witnesses. They found that these guys had been promised deals in exchange for testifying against me, and that testimony was totally discredited. But what convicted me was as I said, the false ballistic evidence. And then once they got to looking at it, and they hired experts to go look at this stuff, and they found out that it was just what they said. This so-called ballistic expert said was just it was just untrue, and this stuff couldn't have matched the way he said it was. And so they subsequently released me through the conviction integrity unit. When I went before the judge, the prosecutor and my lawyers entered into a joint motion to dismiss this case, and one of the most sweetest words I could hear ever in life was, "Mr. Siggers, we're sorry, you are free to go."
Wow.
And they let me go.
That's just an incredible story.
And then what he was saying, some of the things are the accountability. Accountability for the officers and those who are responsible for these wrongful convictions are some of the things that lawyers and universities are working on around the country to see who's accountable and who are we going to hold accountable for these wrongful convictions.
Absolutely incredible. So now you've been in jail for 34 years. You were able to get your GED and get an associate's degree. You got out. When did you get out again?
2018.
2018, just about a year ago. So
Yes.
what happens? What's the process when you get out? What do they do? What do they say to you? What happens?
Nothing. I mean, they have in place what is called the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act.
Yes.
Which means that every individual who's been in prison, they're supposed to get $50,000 to every year
If they were
they're
in.
incarcerated. And that's a process that some of the lawyers are still working on. And the Attorney General's office, they're working diligently to make sure that compensation is awarded to those who should get compensated. But it's a complicated process. And so they're working towards it. But in the meantime, there is no monies to assist individuals while they wait. They don't give you housing, you don't get clothing, you don't get anything. And so it's a difficult journey because you got to get your license, Social Security card, birth certificate, and all of these things. And so if you don't have some type of family support, it's going to be very, very difficult. Some of the exonerees are actually homeless right now. They don't have places to go as they wait on this process of compensation. And so
So that's just makes one speechless, kind of.
Yes.
It does. So I've held you in jail for 34 years, and I was wrong.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, you're free now. You can go. And that's it. You just walk out. You have nothing.
Yeah.
You have no place to live. You have no job. You have no money. You don't even have ID.
correct.
And the state expects you to survive on that. And see, what I go back to is they're trying to recreate another prisoner.
Yes.
Because and I know some of y'all going to disagree with me on this, but that's okay. But if I put you in that situation and you have nothing to fall back on, and you've already been in jail, unfortunately, one of the things you're going to think of, well, who can I steal from? What can I steal? What can I do? There's got to be something I can do. Because right now, I don't have a job. And people are reluctant to hire me because I am just getting out of jail.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're trying to recreate the prison system, send you back so that they
Yes.
can now have another prisoner in our prison money-making machine that
Yes.
goes on. And now this leads me back into a story that I'm going to interrupt for a minute, that I talk about every Monday, and that's the census. Because those of you who listen every Monday know that I talk about the census every Monday and how important it is that we are sure that we fill out the census forms and that we are counted. You need to know that if there is a prisoner, he's counted wherever he's in prison.
Yes.
So if he's in Milan or Ionia or wherever he's in prison, he's counted there. And so the place that he goes back to, even if he gets out in a year or two, the place he goes back to doesn't get that money to support him and to support anything that he needs to do. The place where he was in prison gets that money for the next 10 years. And for those of you who don't know, that money is $1,800 per person per year for the next 10 years. And so if that person gets out of jail in 2020 and you didn't count him, you know, we get no money to help that person in terms of education or health care or food services or social services or any of those things that help make a community and help make a person whole. So my point here is make sure you are counted. Make sure that you and everybody in your family, in your household, is counted during the census so that we do have dollars to take care of those people. So now I'm back to your story. I'm going to leave the census alone for the day, everybody. You know I talk about the census every month. So for now, we're going to go back to the story. So you're out, and you've been out for over a year now.
Yes.
Do you have a job?
I created my own company.
There we go. You know, we've always been real creative. You know, we really have. We've got the mind, but we've always been creative. But the fact that you had to create your company to get a job is disgraceful. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go back.
Can I add?
Yes, you can.
And Eddie Good.
Yes, you can.
Not only did he create a company, Mr. Seegers, throughout his years of me knowing him in prison, have been doing the same thing in there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in society, people don't know what we've done in prison. Mm-hmm. You still see us as the same guy we were when we went in, but we are not the same guys, although we look the same or whatever. And so Mr. Seegers worked in the law library. He done filed lawsuits, won lawsuits in prison, and helped other prisoners in prison through that 34 years. So he didn't lay down on it. And I must remind you that he and I and a lot of other guys went to prison. We are representatives of from school to prison pipeline.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people have been speaking about this, but we're here now. We can tell you about the school to the prison pipeline better than anybody because we was in the pipeline.
That's right.
And you were there. And let me go back to, fortunately, you were able to create your own job, because while you were in prison, you took advantage of what you could. You got your GED, you got your associate's degree. What happens to that guy who's unable to do that? He gets exonerated. He's now out in the world with nothing. And suppose he doesn't have a family. Then we really got some issues. And as you say, some of these young men are homeless now. Audience, we need to work on this. This is just not acceptable.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just interrupted your story, but I will do that every now and then.
And that's all right. And what you're saying is quite appropriate and pertinent to this discussion. Many of the guys who didn't have the opportunity that I had a lot of support. I had professors assisting me, lawyers assisting me, doctors assisting me, family members, and even guys like Dwight Harris here, who created a company, has been helping people. He go all over the United States, go to other cities, other states, helping people. And I commend him. He has the heart and the wherewithal to go talk to juveniles, talk to judges, those seminars, and bring an awareness to these things. So I take my hat off to him. And as he and I work on different projects together, I've reached back to help so many individuals, because one of the things that you cannot do while you're inside is get your court file. You can't get your prosecutor's file. You can't get your police file. And I help individuals get these documents so that they can file appeals. Most people focus on the back end. When people get convicted, I'm trying to focus on the front end. I even wrote a book since I've been out. The name of the book is What You Need to Know Before Hiring a Lawyer and What You Need to Know before filing an appeal. And most people that deal with lawyers, they don't know how to prepare contracts. When they just give lawyers $20,000 or $30,000, their whole life savings, and lawyers just walk away with it and feed their families off into the system. And so you need to be able to understand about case evaluations and how to process and work with lawyers, and then for those individuals inside who don't know how to file appeals, this book that I wrote is wrote in plain, simple language. It's on Barnes and Nobles, it's on Amazon, and I try to get this to all the people in the communities, because I had 16 lawyers while I was inside, and so I know it there too.
You had 16 lawyers.
16 lawyers.
Why did you have 16 lawyers?
Because some were good and some were bad.
Okay, so you just get some and you fire them and you let them go.
And, it was just, and I continued to fight. If a lawyer was bad, I just fired him and kept it moving. I filed a lawsuit I won a lawsuit for $219,000 while I was inside, and so.
Did you get the money while you were
Yes.
inside? Did you?
Yes.
They let you have it? They didn't put it in escrow or anything like that?
No.
Really?
No. I had lawyers that helped me, work to set up different funds, but it wasn't an easy process.
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
I suffered all type of retribution and retaliation, and the lawsuit was against officers for retaliating against me. But after I won, they even retaliated even more
I'm sure
as I
they
went
did.
through the process.
You had more money than they did.
And so
Yeah, I'm sure they
came
retaliated.
closer, and so. But God is good, and God has been
All the
blessing my
time.
steps and guiding my way. And so my mind is clear, my body's strong. I don't take any medications, drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke. So I'm blessed. Every day, I didn't let prison. A lot of people let prison make them bitter.
Exactly.
But I didn't let prison make me bitter. I let it make me better, so I can continue to move forward and help people and do God's will and do what I need to do to survive and reach back and help those whom God intended me to help.
And this
That's
one, I know
wonderful.
you
Go
coming
right
to the
ahead.
end, but here's the thing: he was charged with first-degree murder. But if you sit and listen to him now, you charged him first murder when you was a kid.
Yeah.
To see him now and to educate himself in the cesspool.
Wow. How old were you when you were charged?
20 years old.
Wow.
I'm 55 now. When I went to prison, Ronald Reagan was president in his first term. When I got out, Donald Trump was president. So that gives you some context of the change, And then here's the thing.
Incredible change.
Yes.
When I went to prison, they didn't have cell phones and all this computer technology. And so now these are some of the things that people lack. We lack housing. We lack job. We lack training,
Absolutely.
counseling, all of these
It's
things
like
that
it's
people
like
need.
being reborn again,
Yes.
like a new baby who
Yes.
wakes up and they're in the 21st, 20th century, and payphones don't exist anymore, and all of those things that used to exist, they don't even have pagers anymore.
Right.
All those things that existed are just gone, and you've got to start all over again, and somebody's got to tell you how to use this stuff. You got to get trained all over again. That's absolutely incredible. Tell me a little bit more about your company and what it does to help.
Well, one of the things we also do, we connect with other organizations to pool our resources to provide individuals information to get their license, to get their social security cards, to get their birth certificates, and to tell them about some of the things that they need to do to help them in their transition from prison to freedom. Because it's not as easy as people, when people inside, all they want to do is get out. But once you get out, it's a whole nother race, because life will come at you 100 miles an hour. And so as we partner up with different organizations like Proving Innocence, the White's organization, and others, we just try to point the way. We do whatever people need us to do to help them in their journey. And there's a wide variety of things that people need. And so people come to us, and and the name of my company is Access Plus. The website is legalaccessplus.com, where people can go on the line and look at our website and see what it is they need to do in terms of getting resources, getting connected. We help people connect to lawyers. We help people connect to experts. We help people connect to private investigators, because a lot of the people...
Say your website again, legalaccessplus.com.
Yes.
Legalaccessplus.com.
Yes.
I want to make sure you hear that. Legalaccessplus.com. It's an incredible story.
And I want to thank you and people like you for bringing awareness and providing these type of forums. This is what's necessary to bring awareness to these type of issues, because there's a lot of guys in prison that are innocent, that have been wrongfully convicted, that don't have the opportunities that I had, didn't have the blessings that I had. All I had when I was in prison was God. That's the only person I could rely on.
Well, that's pretty much all you need.
That's
I'm just
exactly.
I'm just
That's
saying.
exactly. That's exactly. That's
Just
all.
saying.
That's all I
you
need,
had the
know?
main one.
Yeah,
You had the
that's
main one.
That's right.
That's why you are where you are.
And I
That's
give
where
God
you
all the
are where
glory
you are.
and all-
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
You're
We'd
welcome.
love to
Thank
have you
you.
come back and talk about the progress that's being made. After this message, we're going to come back with another young person who's going to talk about his plight. So we'll talk to you in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
I dedicate this song to recession, depression, and employment. This song's for you.
Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine. Nothing but clouds, and it's dark in my heart, and it feels like a cold night. Today's a new day, but where are my blue skies? Where is the love and the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's alright.
I'll be honest with you.
I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain fell from heaven like a shower now.
When I think how much better I'm gonna be when this is over.
Even though I hurt, see, I smile. I know God is working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while,
What you do?
I smile.
Come on and
Smile. It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Sure would hate to see you give up now.
God's people.
You look so much better when you smile. So smile.
Now every day ain't gonna be perfect, but it still don't mean today don't have purpose. Come on.
Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine. Nothing but clouds, and it's dark in my heart, and it feels like a cold night.
It ain't easy, but
Today's a new day, but tell me where are my blue skies?
where is that love, y'all?
Where is the love, the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's alright.
The truth is,
I almost gave up, but a power that I can't
that
explain
Holy Ghost power, y'all.
fell from heaven like a shower down.
Now I know we've been hurt, y'all, but still,
I smile,
come on.
even though I hurt, see, I smile.
Y'all feel that?
I know God is working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while,
Still,
I smile.
hallelujah.
It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Sure would hate to see you give up now.
God's people,
You look so much better when you smile.
let's go.
For me,
Whoa.
can you just smile for me?
Whatever you're in right now,
Smile for me.
smile.
Can you just smile for me?
And my people say,
You look so much better when you. You look so much better when you. You look so much better when you.
I say,
You look so much better when you.
and while you waiting,
You look so much better when you.
yeah, and while you praying,
You look so much better when you.
look in the mirror.
You look so much better when you.
Always remember,
You look so much better when you smile.
come on.
Almost gave up.
I almost gave
Power
up,
that I can't
but that
explain
Holy Ghost power, y'all,
fell from heaven
came
like a
down from heaven.
shower down.
Hardships, difficulties,
Right now,
tears, storms. This is what I do.
even though I hurt, see, I smile.
But that feels good.
I know God is working, so I smile.
All things are working.
Even though I'm in it for a while,
Still,
I smile. Smile.
hallelujah.
So hard to look up when you've been down.
I know it's hard right now,
Sure would hate to see you give up now.
because you're a winner.
You look so much better when you smile.
You look better.
So smile. You
Dallas,
look so much better when you.
New Orleans,
You look so
Y'all want some more? Y'all want some more of that? Are y'all sure y'all want some more of that?
We're back. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us again on the Community Bell Show this wonderful Monday afternoon here in wonderful metropolitan Detroit. We're glad to have you, glad to have all of you watching us again and listening again. Again, back to Mr. Dwight Harris and our guest. Dwight, introduce our next guest.
So, this guest here is Michael Powles. He's not just a guest, he's a friend of mine.
Okay.
I met Mr. Michael Powles doing the case management with his case. Mr. Michael Powles was fighting an exoneration, trying to get out. He was charged with first-degree murder. There's probably some more gun cases charges in there. So his family contacted us to help him with his polygraph. And they contacted Innocent Maintain at that time. And so he needed money for his polygraph. He didn't have the money for the polygraph test to prove that he wasn't there. Because the processes were already there. Everything was done, but they just needed the money. Had we not helped him, he wouldn't be home. So we helped him with the polygraph, Mr. Aaron Salters, and I. And so he got the money. He paid he passed the polygraph, and he came home.
Just after serving.
It's just so
And
incredible.
after
It's just
serving.
absolutely so incredible. What was the case against you at the time?
Back in 2007, I was charged with first-degree premeditated murder, and I was
Premeditated, that's real.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was convicted the end of 2007, December, and I was sent to prison with with a 45 to 75 year sentence for second-degree murder and everything. So it just like the whole experience, it was just life-changing.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Prison
I'm
is like
sure
a
it
whole
was.
nother world, and a lot of people don't know, the challenges that exonerees go through after experiencing something like that. That's like something you cannot tear out your head. It's just stuck there, and how the system is set up when we get out, it's like they setting us up for failure because they don't have anything in place for us.
Absolutely. But
you
now,
know.
when you got out, when did you get out?
I was released this year, February 20th.
Oh, my goodness, almost a
Yes.
year. So you were released in 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
And again, you were in jail for how long?
I did 12 years.
12 years.
Uh-huh.
And when they let you out, they describe the process. You walk. It isn't like we see on TV, I'm sure. So describe the process for us. So give us a picture of what people would see. You walk out of a gate. I mean, you walk onto the street. How do you do? How does it happen?
Okay, my experience, they let me know they let you know a couple of days ahead of time before you being released. So they get all your things and they take you up through the front to the control center where all the officers are at. The control center controls the whole prison, and your family be sitting up front waiting on you. They could bring your clothes to wear out of prison and everything. So my family was there waiting on me, and as soon as I made it home, Dwight and Aaron was waiting on me also, and everything. They played a nice role, and
He's in court, too.
Yes, in court also for me. So they played a nice role in, my transition.
Which prison were you in?
Man, I was in probably like 10 different ones because it's like,
Really?
Michigan has the most prisons.
Yeah,
I've
heard that.
Michigan has the
I've
most
heard
prisons
that.
out of everyone. So I was being bounced around from this prison to this prison to that prison, and like Mr. Seeger said, you might go to one prison and you might experience racism and all type of things. The people look at you, the officers, when you in there, they look at you like you wearing them blue and orange colors. You have to, you got to be guilty. And they talk to you any type of way. It might be a situation where they might not like your roommate. They want him gone, so they'll come in your room, tear your stuff up, or throw your stuff over there on his side to try to get you guys into it. So it was just a real terrible
So
experience.
when you were out, which one did you leave when you came out?
I left from Adrian, Michigan,
Adrian, okay.
and it was one of the worst experiences ever up there.
Oh,
Adrian. Yes, ma'am.
So they let you out. Your family, fortunately, you had a family. They were there to
Yes,
greet
my
you
mom and my cousin.
and to take you home.
Uh-huh.
You had a place to stay.
Yes, I went to my mom's house.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But I will share with the audience, there's some people who don't have a family waiting for them when they get out. They get out and they're just out.
Yeah.
You walk out, you're on the street. How do you get from let's say you didn't have a family, you're getting out in Adrian. How do you get from Adrian back to Detroit or Flint or Saginaw or Lansing or wherever it is you come from? How do you get there? They don't give you any transportation?
See, actually, how the process is done, some guys, like, let me put it like this. Guys who actually committed crimes and come home on parole have more privileges than guys like Mr. Seegers and ourselves. It's nothing intact for us, but the guys who committed the crimes, they have like NPRI programs where they can leave, get housing, they get food assistance, cash, everything. And they also get them employment. The system is set up totally backwards.
Well, to explain it, let me explain it.
Please
So-
do, because
so this is what,
I'm in a lost
so
lost
what,
for
so
words
what
now.
happened,
Explain
what happens
this.
is the difference between me, I did it, and him, I got a parole, he got exonerated. The words are different. So with the exoneration, it's a immediate process. Like once the exoneration come, ain't no 2-3 months or nothing. It's like, hey, you got to go. Hey, they call, boop, they hit to did the counselor tell you?
Yes.
See, that's how they do it. They call the institution. The institution call a counselor who have a office in the prison, right there on, in your unit,
Yeah,
where your cells at, but downstairs.
With your entire file.
So you come right out and go downstairs from your cell and see your counselor, and they tell you that
You're being
let
released.
you
You're
know
going home in a
you are
day.
exonerated.
Yes.
So there you go. So there's no way to get the services at that time. Here's the thing: most of them don't want to deal with the MDOC after that. So you do have services at the MDOC, whether you come and get help, but at the same time, a lot of guys do not want to go to the parole office to be harassed.
Yes.
Now, and I'm not saying that parole people harass you, but the idea from prison is anybody on parole get harassed. So they don't want to go there. So they end up getting help from the people that know them, which if you did 30-something years, you don't know nobody, really.
No.
He did 12, so he is blessed to really still like have somebody. He got a child that's young too.
Yes.
Because he didn't do a lot of time. Whereas Mr. Seegers, his is grown. And he got grandkids, right? Yeah.
So let me back up a little bit. So those persons who are exonerated, there are things that can help if you want to go to the MDOC.
Yeah, over to Lawton.
Okay. And I know where that is.
They don't have housing.
And I guess I'm just saying that if you need something, and I know you don't want to go over there, but Lord have mercy, you need to go get what you need to get. Or
Yes,
can somebody go in
So-
with you in your stead to get those services?
So this is what I do. When he come home, we help him with his ID. We gave him a phone first day. Took him to buy him a phone because he need a phone for communication. Help him with his ID. Help him with his health care. Help him with Social Security. I mean, your health care and the bridge card.
Okay.
Yes.
And we try to find jobs and the things that we do. Some guys went to Focus Hope, got training and things like that. He's working, but he'll kind of tell you that. But, you know, we have to find the resources and the jobs that fit the guys that can do them all. Everybody is willing to work. Most guys are starting their own companies because most of them potentially multi-millionaires.
Okay.
So, kind of.
So let me go back to you were let out. I mean, you aren't given any material that says, okay, you're leaving here. You can go to A, B, C, D, and E and get some services for anything. They don't give you anything that tells you that?
No, they don't give you anything. Actually, they just refer you to Lawton, the parole office, which is a dangerous place for anyone to be going.
I used to manage a nonprofit where we had people who work with offenders. We ran a house that housed them when they came out and while they were on parole. But the guys we had were not exonerated; they were on parole.
Yes.
But I just hurts my heart to know that we're treating people that way. But
If you're not on parole, not wanting to go to the parole office.
it's a lot of challenges going up to that
Yeah.
parole office because the whole thing is like the prison world. Sometimes another inmate might have had problems with another inmate up there, and they all have them reporting at the same place. So something dangerous is bound to happen. It's when they talk
When you're through with it, you want to be through with
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
I understand.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you're done, you just want to be done. I don't
You
want
don't-
to see this or
you don't want
anybody else
nothing
with
to
this
do with it.
again.
And so, like, as a support, case management, for the last year, I can kind of give a synopsis of the work I've been doing
Please
with
do.
designeries that come home. Some of the things, the barriers, relationship, housing, transportation. So what I do is, if anybody call me, I'm gonna do what I need to do for them at that time. So that's the services that helps them, and it's immediate service that I give to designeries that I did case management with. So if they call me, I'm there. If whatever, so.
Have you been able to work with the religious community to see if any of the churches, the pastors, or religious organizations
Yes.
can have help?
Yes.
Okay, well that's good
Yes.
to know.
And so we did a summit at over there Kenlock at Triumph
Triumph,
on the
okay.
boulevard. We've done a Reformation Forum at Kenneth Tate Church on St. Mary's in Chicago. I did a Know Your Rights at Judge Mathis.
Okay.
And we're continuing to do summits, symposiums, forums to bring awareness to the community about wrongful convictions.
I want to go back to the monies that these people are due based on their having been exonerated. Talk about that some more.
So,
it's a WICA, which is a compensation act. So they say for any person who's wrongly convicted and locked up, they give you're entitled to $50,000 for each year.
Okay.
But certain individuals they kind of taking us through kind of prolonging the process. They don't really want to give us the money and everything. So that alone is a challenge. It's like okay, you set me up with this case. You took my life for all this time. Now I come home and I got to fight you guys again, for what I'm entitled to. So it's this extra stress on top of stress being an
Absolutely.
exoneree.
So what do you have to, are there papers you have to fill out to request the dollars? I mean, what do you go through to get to
Yes,
get to
actually
that
you got to
point?
have a civil attorney, or you could do it yourself if you know what you're doing.
Okay.
But you have to have a civil attorney to put your WICA act in and everything, file it, but in the courts. And also, it's like two different proceedings and everything. It's a WICA act, and it's also a 1983 that you can file for the wrongful conviction also.
that's the
Okay.
lawsuit.
That's the lawsuit.
That's the lawsuit. And so you fill these papers out, or the attorney fills it out on your
Yes,
behalf.
he
you
submits it.
you turn them into, who do you turn them into? The courts?
Attorney General.
The Attorney General. And then, is there any specific amount of time they have? Or can they just take forever to give you your money? And there's got to be.
How much time is taking
Yeah.
actually for the guys?
Well, no,
that
I want
got
to know
money?
how much time they're supposed to. Like, is it, if I turn it in January 1st, you got 90 days
There's
to
no
get
deadline.
my money. Oh,
There's
Jesus.
no deadline. For a minute, they had the governor. They stopped. They had put a block on it for a minute. Saying they didn't have the funds and everything. So I guess they got around that, and the new governor, she replenished, the funds and everything. But they still been taking us through it.
At least 8 months to a year.
8 months to a year. It's just.
Crazy.
And so,
It's just.
this when we have to give honors to the innocent clinics, Michigan Innocent Clinic,
Yes.
Dave Moran and U of M Innocent Project is doing great work, been doing great work for years. Wayne State.
And also
Wayne-
Valerie Newman in the Criminal Integrity Unit. Valerie Newman is a good person. She's a great woman and everything, and she has the utmost integrity.
Okay.
And I commend her, Kim Worthy, Janet Knapp, even the police chief. All of them, had a part of this Criminal Integrity Unit, and I truly feel in my heart that Kim and Valerie and them is trying to right the wrongs that's been going on in Motor City for the longest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's great to know, and I know Kim Worthy is to be a woman of integrity. So I've
Yeah.
not
Yes.
known her a lot of years, and so absolutely, she is all that, and Valerie Newman also.
Yes, great woman.
But I just it just breaks my heart that we have done this to these people, and now that they're out and we say you're free, we know you didn't do anything wrong. The law that says we should compensate you is not being followed the way it should be, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
And that's a sad thing. And so, audience, you need to weigh in on this. If you know persons who are in this situation, or if you have influence with people who are a part of this, give them a little ringy-dingy. Talk to them. Let make this right. We need to make this right.
right. And then another thing is like, so when I look at, I've seen most of the guys come home in a year. So some of the things they need, like, I wish I could like take them to Target, take them to get shoes, like, you know, take them to the actually company as opposed to the monetary dollars, but to be able to take them to the company where they what you need, drawers, socks, everything.
And
It
then they
takes-
can just send the bill to whoever.
Yeah, send them to or the donation. It could be a donation,
Donation.
right off to. We all. I'm 501c3. He has one.
Yes.
He's not, but a lot of us have 501c3s where we can they can make the donation to us. So some of the churches have made donations,
Okay.
for clothes and used clothes.
Well, it certainly is a topic that we will revisit
Yes.
because we want to see what's going on and how we can make it work a little bit smoother, a little bit faster. Because just talk about unfair, that is an understatement in terms of what's going on with the people that we have wrongfully convicted. The ones, I'm not talking about the folks who did what they did, but the people that were wrongfully convicted. It should not take a year for us to make them whole again. No, we'll never make them whole, but for us to at least help them get back to some level of normalcy.
We can never bring them to the age
No.
like catch up, but just
You're never going to get 34 years back. Never going to get 12 years back. Never going to get those years that these people didn't spend with their children and see their grandchildren born and are able to do things in the community. We're never going to see that again, but what we can do is try to help them replenish. That's what we need to do. We're out of time. Time went so fast, I can't believe it. Thank you so much. The Community Bell Show has been honored to have these wonderful gentlemen on with us today. Thank you so much. We're glad that you're out. We're glad that you're doing things that are positive. We will revisit this to see if there's something we can do to try and help move these things along. So we'll see you next week, everybody. This has been your host, Edna Bell, with the Community Bell Show. Have a great week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern for the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users.